Rick Lagina has spent years chasing the mystery of Oak Island, and today the world is shocked because his team has discovered something that could be worth millions, maybe even more. It is not just treasure hidden in the ground, but something so strange and mysterious that people are wondering if this discovery could even change history itself. The words being whispered are Ark Chamber, and what lies inside it is beyond anyone's imagination. Oak Island, a small piece of land in Nova Scotia, Canada, has been famous for centuries as the most mysterious island in the world. It is covered in thick trees, swamps, and dangerous caves. For hundreds of years, people have believed that beneath this land, deep underground, something priceless has been hidden. Some believed it was gold, others thought it was jewels, and some said it was an ancient artifact that the world was not ready to see. For many, Oak Island was just a legend, a story told to excite explorers. But Rick Lagina never thought so. Rick had dreamed of solving the Oak Island mystery since childhood. When he was young, he read about the story of the Money Pit in a magazine. That story told of boys who found a strange pit on Oak Island in the late 1700s. As they dug into it, they discovered layers of wooden planks, one after another, buried deep into the ground. Every 10 feet, they found something unusual. It looked like someone had planned it carefully centuries earlier. But before they could go too far, water began rushing into the pit as though the island itself had been designed to stop them. No matter how hard people tried, the pit filled with water, and treasure hunters had to abandon their search. Over the years, dozens of people tried again and again, but the pit swallowed their efforts. Some even lost their lives. That is why Oak Island soon became more than just a treasure site. It became a legend, wrapped in danger and fear. For Rick, however, Oak Island was not just a legend. It was his lifelong dream. Along with his brother Marty, he decided to spend his life searching for the truth buried under this island. Marty at first thought it was just an adventurous project, something exciting to pass time with, but as the years went by, and as real evidence began to show up, even he became as passionate as Rick. The two brothers, along with their team, used every modern technology they could. They scanned the land with ground-penetrating radar, searched with metal detectors, used drilling machines, and even studied old maps and documents from centuries past. Their goal was not only to find treasure, but also to prove that the stories told for hundreds of years were true. Their search was long, and the challenges were endless. Oak Island was like a trap built to protect its secrets. Underground tunnels twisted and turned in confusing ways, often ending abruptly or splitting into paths that led nowhere. Some tunnels were booby-trapped with carefully placed stones that could collapse with a single mistake. Once, as Rick's team was working, a heavy stone shifted and they had to run for their lives. In other cases, seawater kept flooding into the tunnels, making excavation nearly impossible. Pumps were brought in, but the powerful ocean always found its way back into the ground. At times, it felt as though nature itself was protecting whatever was buried below. But Rick and his team never gave up. Every time danger appeared, they grew stronger. They believed that the more difficult it became, the greater the treasure must be. After all, no one would design such a complex network of traps just to hide ordinary gold. It had to be something extraordinary. And then, finally, after years of digging, studying, and nearly giving up, they found their first big breakthrough. Deep inside one of the tunnels, the team uncovered an ancient artifact. It was made of metal and decorated with strange symbols that no one had seen before. It was not from Oak Island, and it did not belong to that time period. It looked like something from a different civilization altogether. When Rick held it in his hand, he felt a chill run down his spine. For years he had dreamed of finding proof, and now that proof was in front of him. The artifact made the entire world take notice. Photos of it spread across social media. Viewers of the show began to speculate. Was this from the Knights Templar? Was it part of a sacred relic? Or was it simply a clue to an even bigger treasure hidden below? This artifact marked the turning point. It told Rick and his team that they were not digging in the wrong place. They were closer to the truth than ever before. But with that discovery came new attention, and not all of it was welcome. Soon after the artifact was found, government officials and representatives of powerful organizations arrived at the site. They surrounded the excavation area, placed no-entry signs, and ordered that no information about further discoveries be released to the public. The media was barred, and cameras were kept far away. Any leak of information was quickly silenced. Rick and his team were confused and disturbed. Why would the government suddenly show so much interest if it was just gold? Why block the media if the discovery was only a piece of history? It became clear that what they had found was more than treasure. It was something that powerful people did not want the world to see. Despite the pressure, Rick and his team continued their search. Their determination only grew stronger, and soon, their work brought them to something even bigger, the entrance to the Ark Chamber. Unlike the other tunnels, this place felt different. The walls were stronger, built with large stones and covered in mysterious carvings. Symbols that looked like crosses, arrows, and circles were etched deep into the stone. Experts on the team suggested that these markings might be connected to the Templar Knights, a medieval order rumored to have hidden great treasures and sacred artifacts. In front of them stood a sealed door. It was ancient, made of heavy stone reinforced with iron, and it looked like no one had touched it for hundreds of years. Rick knew that behind this door lay the Ark Chamber. The team used ground-penetrating radar and sensors to scan the area. What they found left them breathless. Behind the door was a hollow space, a chamber with solid objects inside that looked like metal. The heartbeat of every team member raced, as they realized they were on the verge of uncovering something the world had never seen. Excitement filled the air, but so did fear. What if opening this door unleashed something dangerous? What if it was not treasure, but something else, something history had hidden for a reason? Finally, after careful preparation, the team began to open the door. The moment was tense. Heavy equipment was used with precision, making sure not to damage what lay beyond. As the first lock broke, a deep echo filled the tunnel. Everyone fell silent. Slowly, the ancient door began to creak open. A gust of cold air flowed out, carrying the smell of soil, rust, and centuries of time. The opening was small, just enough to see inside. And then, for the first time, the team saw it. A faint glow of light reflected off something metallic inside. The chamber was real. The Ark Chamber was not just a legend. Everyone stared into the gap, trying to make out what was hidden. Some shapes looked like chests, others like relics. But before anyone could say much, Rick raised his hand and told them to stop. "This is not just treasure," he whispered. His eyes, filled with both excitement and worry, told the team that what lay inside was far greater than gold or diamonds. The discovery shook the entire world. Social media exploded with theories. Hashtags about Oak Island and the Ark Chamber trended on Twitter. On Reddit, people debated endlessly, some saying it was the treasure of the Templars, others claiming it was proof of ancient civilizations. Videos went viral, with creators speculating on what Rick had seen through that narrow gap. Some even claimed to have inside footage, though none could be confirmed. Meanwhile, religious and historical organizations expressed concern. Some said the discovery could reveal secrets that should remain hidden, while others supported the team, believing it was the biggest historical truth waiting to be uncovered. But Rick kept silent. When reporters asked him what was inside, he only said, "We have found something very important. It is not just treasure. The time will come when the world will know." His refusal to reveal more only increased the mystery. People began to wonder, was Rick being pressured by the government? Was he hiding the truth because it was too powerful to be revealed? At the same time, dangers grew. Rick and his team began receiving threats. Strangers were seen watching the excavation site. Powerful groups wanted the project to stop. Some even claimed that the discovery could cause unrest in the world if revealed. But despite the threats, Rick stood firm. For him, this was no longer just a search for treasure. It was a fight for truth. He promised his team that no matter how dangerous it became, they would not give up. The Ark Chamber was only the beginning. Rick's research suggested that there might be more tunnels and sealed rooms beneath it, connected in a massive underground network. If that was true, then Oak Island was hiding something far bigger than anyone had ever imagined. And so, the story continues, filled with suspense, danger, and unanswered questions. What exactly lies inside the Ark Chamber? Is it gold and jewels, or something that could change history forever? Could it be a sacred artifact, hidden by the Templars to protect it from the world? Or is it knowledge, ancient wisdom that could rewrite everything we know? For now, only Rick and his team know the truth, and while they remain silent, the world can only speculate. The world can only speculate. At the end of this discovery, Rick looked at the camera and asked one simple question. What do you think is the real secret of the Ark Chamber? When Rick Lagina and his team stood in front of that sealed stone door, time seemed to stop. For years, Oak Island had tested their patience, drained their energy, and even threatened their lives. But now, standing face to face with what could be the greatest discovery of all time, they felt both fear and excitement. The Ark Chamber was not just another tunnel or pit. It was something built with great care, sealed with purpose. and hidden with secrets meant to last for centuries. The team gathered around the narrow opening they had managed to create. From inside came the faint shimmer of something metallic. It wasn't the dull shine of rusted tools or ordinary stones. It was bright, glowing faintly even in the darkness. Alongside that glow came a strange, heavy smell like old iron mixed with damp soil. A scent that seemed to belong to another age. The air was colder too, as though this chamber had been locked away from the world for so long that time itself had forgotten it. Rick looked into the gap with a seriousness that the rest of the team could feel. For years, he had dreamed of this moment, but when it finally came, it was overwhelming. His brother Marty, always more practical, whispered, "Rick, are you seeing what I'm seeing?" Rick didn't answer at first. His eyes were locked on the faint glow inside. After a pause, he finally said, "This is not just treasure. It's something far bigger." Those words carried weight. The team fell silent. Each of them had come to Oak Island with their own hopes, some for gold, some for adventure, some just for history. But hearing Rick's voice, calm yet shaken, told them that what lay beyond the door was beyond anything they had imagined. To truly understand the weight of this discovery, we need to go back centuries to the beginning of Oak Island's legend. The story of Oak Island began in the late 1700s, when a group of young men noticed a strange depression in the ground. It looked like a pit, as though someone had dug there long ago and covered it up. Out of curiosity, they began to dig. At first, they found nothing unusual, just soil and rocks. But then, at a depth of 10 feet, they hit a wooden platform. Excited, they removed it, only to find another platform at 20 feet, and then another at 30 feet. It became clear that someone, centuries earlier, had built this pit layer by layer, carefully hiding something deep underground. The deeper they went, the stranger it became. At around 90 feet, the pit suddenly filled with water, as though some secret flood system had been designed to stop anyone from reaching what lay beneath. The water poured in faster than they could remove it, and their dig came to a halt. Over the next centuries, countless treasure hunters tried to conquer the money pit. They brought in pumps, built tunnels, and used every tool they had. But the result was always the same: flooding, collapses, or dead ends. Many left empty-handed. Some lost their fortunes. Others even lost their lives. But the legend only grew. Rumors spread that the pit held pirate treasure, perhaps left behind by the infamous Captain Kidd. Others whispered that the Knights Templar had hidden something sacred there, something so powerful it had to be protected at all costs. Some even said the Ark of the Covenant, the ancient biblical artifact, might be buried beneath Oak Island. Theories multiplied, but answers never came. That is why Oak Island remained a mystery, a place where history, legend, and danger all mixed together. And that is why Rick Lagina, inspired as a young boy, dedicated his life to uncovering the truth. Rick's journey was anything but easy. From the beginning, Oak Island fought back. The tunnels were not just confusing, they were deadly. Imagine walking underground in the dark, surrounded by walls of stone and dirt, never knowing if one wrong move could trigger a collapse. The team often faced traps designed hundreds of years ago, still waiting patiently for anyone who dared to enter. Rocks were placed in such a way that shifting one could bring the whole tunnel down. Water was another constant enemy. Seawater from the nearby ocean seeped into the ground, flooding the tunnels again and again. Pumps were installed, but the island's design seemed to be against them. Some believed the flood system was not natural at all, that it had been engineered by whoever built the pit. Channels connected to the sea may have been carved out deliberately, so that no one could ever reach the treasure. This meant every time Rick's team thought they were close, the tunnels would fill with water, forcing them to retreat. On top of that, the island itself seemed to have a curse. Over the centuries, 6 people had died searching for the Oak Island treasure. Legend said a 7th death must occur before the treasure would finally reveal itself. Whether one believes in curses or not, that fact haunted Rick and his team. Every step they took deeper into the island's belly felt like tempting fate. Yet Rick pressed on. He believed that Oak Island's secrets were too important to leave buried. With his brother Marty, he combined old-fashioned determination with the latest technology. They studied ancient maps, some with strange symbols and markings. They brought in experts in history, religion, and archaeology. They scanned the ground with radar, drilled holes, and sent cameras down into the earth. Slowly, piece by piece, they began to gather clues. Among the many discoveries were artifacts that didn't belong to Oak Island at all. Pieces of metal, coins, fragments of pottery, and with dating back hundreds of years were uncovered. Some of these items were traced back to Europe, suggesting that explorers or secretive groups had been to Oak Island long before anyone in modern history. But the most shocking clues were the symbols. Strange carvings appeared on stones, walls, and artifacts. Some resembled religious signs, while others looked like coded messages. Experts believed these could be linked to the Templar Knights. The Knights were a powerful order of warriors and protectors during the medieval period, rumored to have hidden away some of the greatest treasures and secrets in history. If Oak Island truly had ties to the Templars, then it wasn't just about gold, it was about something much bigger. That was when the term Ark Chamber first appeared. In studying old maps and documents, the team noticed references to a hidden chamber, described in ways that suggested it was not just a treasure vault, but something sacred. The name alone created excitement. Could it be a chamber built to protect the Ark of the Covenant? Could it be a vault designed to safeguard sacred relics? Theories exploded, and Rick knew he had to find it. The search reached a new level when the team uncovered that ancient artifact, a piece of metal with mysterious engravings. It was unlike anything found before, and it convinced Rick that they were on the right path. The world reacted immediately. Photos spread across social media, and theories went wild. People on Reddit and Twitter argued about what it could be. Some said it was just a piece of old equipment. Others swore it was a sign of the Templars. A few even suggested it was part of a sacred relic. But one thing was clear: the artifact was a turning point. For Rick, it was proof that Oak Island was hiding something far beyond ordinary treasure. It gave his team new energy, new determination, and a new sense of urgency. They knew they were close to something that could rewrite history. However, not everyone was happy about the discovery. Within days, government officials and representatives of large organizations arrived at Oak Island. They quickly took control of the area, placing restrictions on the team and cutting off outside access. Reporters and cameras were banned. No entry signs went up around the site. Even the little information that leaked out was quickly silenced. For Rick and his team, this was both shocking and disturbing. Why would the government act so quickly and so strictly if it was just about treasure? Why keep the world away from something that belonged to history? The answer seemed clear. What they had found was not just treasure, it was something much bigger. Something that powerful people wanted to hide. And this brings us back to the sealed stone door. The Ark Chamber. The team had finally reached it. They stood before a door that had not been opened for centuries, sealed with stone and iron, decorated with strange symbols. Behind it lay the glow of something metallic, the scent of ancient air, and the possibility of history's greatest secret. Rick's words still echoed in the chamber. This is not just treasure. For over 2 centuries, Oak Island has been the stage for one of the world's greatest mysteries, a puzzle of hidden tunnels, deadly traps, and whispers of lost treasure. But when Rick Lagina, a man who had dreamed of this island since childhood, uncovered what experts now call the Ark Chamber, the legend took a chilling new turn. Strange artifacts, mysterious symbols, and the heavy hand of government secrecy all point to something far greater than gold. Could Oak Island be guarding a secret powerful enough to change history itself? The door stood silent, cold, heavy. The very air around it seemed to press in on Rick Lagina and his team. For a moment, no one spoke. No one even breathed loudly. They all knew what this meant. Centuries of digging, decades of research, and years of sweat and sacrifice had led to this exact moment. It wasn't just another tunnel. It wasn't just another collapse or dead end. This was different. The Ark Chamber wasn't a name they had thrown around lightly. The maps, the clues, the artifacts, all of it pointed here. And now, here they stood, staring at a sink. Stone door that looked more like the entrance to a tomb than a vault. Rick placed his hand on the rough surface. The stone was cool, almost unnaturally so, as if it had been preserved in ice. Strange markings ran along the edge of symbols carved with precision, lines that almost seemed to glow faintly in the lantern light. He recognized some of them from earlier discoveries: crosses, arrows, geometric shapes that experts believed were tied to the Knights Templar. Marty broke the silence. "Rick, once we open this, there's no going back." Rick didn't look at him. His eyes stayed locked on the door. "We've come too far to turn back now." And with those words, the team prepared to push forward to appreciate the weight of this moment. We must pause and remember everything Oak Island had taken from those who came before. For over 200 years, treasure hunters had fought this island. Many had lost fortunes. Some had lost their lives. 6 deaths had already been recorded in Oak Island's history. 6 men who dared to go too deep, too far, into the island's heart. And legend warned, 7 must die before the treasure revealed itself. The so-called curse of Oak Island. This curse wasn't just a ghost story. To the families of the men who perished, it was real. Collapses, drowning, suffocation. Oak Island demanded sacrifice. Some locals whispered that the island was alive, that it was guarding its secrets the way a lion guards its den. Others believed the Templars, or whoever had built the money pit, had designed the ultimate booby-trap labyrinth. Every trap, every flood tunnel, every collapse, it was all intentional. And now Rick Lagina stood where no man had ever stood before, on the edge of breaking the curse, on the edge of rewriting history, when the team finally managed to open a gap in the stone door. A rush of air escaped from within. It was cold, stale, and carried the scent of centuries past. Dust swirled in the lantern light, and for the first time, human eyes peered into the ark chamber. What they saw was overwhelming. The chamber stretched deeper than expected, with walls lined in carefully cut stone. It wasn't natural. It wasn't a random cave. This was built, designed, constructed with purpose. And in the center of the chamber sat a raised platform. On that platform lay something wrapped in ancient coverings, glinting with metallic edges beneath the dust. It wasn't piles of gold coins or chests overflowing with jewels. It was singular, purposeful, sacred. The glow they had seen earlier was real. It came from the object itself, faintly reflecting light as though it were polished yesterday, not centuries ago. Rick's voice cracked as he whispered, "Is that the Ark?" Theories about the Ark of the Covenant had haunted Oak Island for decades. The Ark, according to the Bible, was built to hold the stone tablets of the 10 Commandments given to Moses. It was said to be covered in gold, carried with poles, and so holy that touching it could bring death. For centuries, its location had been lost. Some believed it was hidden in Jerusalem before invaders could capture it. Others claimed it had been smuggled to Ethiopia. But a select few researchers had connected it to the Knights Templar, a secretive order of warrior monks who vanished suddenly in the 1300s. The Templars were rumored to have fled with their greatest treasures, gold, relics, and perhaps even the Ark itself. And where did they go? Some claimed they sailed west, across the ocean, to the New World. And now, in this chamber on Oak Island, Rick Lagina stared at something that might prove all of it true. Word of the discovery did not stay secret for long. Even though the government quickly moved to lock down the site, whispers leaked out. A worker spoke to a journalist. A grainy photo surfaced online. Within hours, the world was on fire. News outlets speculated wildly. Was this truly the Ark of the Covenant? Could Rick Lagina and his team have uncovered the most important biblical artifact in human history? Religious groups reacted with both excitement and fear. Some declared this as proof of their faith, a divine sign that prophecy was being fulfilled. Others warned that disturbing the Ark could bring catastrophe. Online forums exploded. Conspiracy theorists claimed this was why governments had intervened, because whoever controlled the Ark controlled unimaginable power. And then came the historians, experts on the Templars, on ancient Israel, on early voyages to the Americas. Many said the evidence pointed to Oak Island all along, and that this was the missing piece of the puzzle. Others scoffed, calling it a hoax or a misinterpretation. But regardless of belief, one thing was clear: the Ark chamber had changed the world. For Rick Lagina, the discovery was bittersweet. This was the moment he had dreamed of since childhood. But now, standing before what could be the Ark of the Covenant, he felt a weight like never before. This wasn't just about treasure hunting anymore. This wasn't about glory or riches. This was about responsibility. If this was truly the Ark, should it even be touched? Should it be removed? Or should it stay hidden, safe from greed and exploitation? Rick knew the government's swift takeover meant they saw the danger. Or perhaps they saw the opportunity. But Rick, he wasn't sure anymore. All he knew was that Oak Island had revealed something powerful, something sacred, and the world would never be the same again. And that's where we leave it. Rick Lagina, standing in the Ark chamber, the faint golden glow of the object before him, the heavy air of history pressing down, the silence of centuries broken at last. The world waits, the theories spread, the government watches, and Rick faces the greatest decision of his life. Because if Oak Island truly holds the Ark of the Covenant, then one thing is certain: the legend was never just about treasure. It was about the power to change history forever. As Rick Lagina stood frozen before the mysterious object in the Ark chamber, one truth became clear: this wasn't the kind of treasure pirates would bury. This wasn't gold meant to be spent or jewels meant to be worn. This was something older, something wrapped in ritual and secrecy, something that entire civilizations had once revolved around. The glow of the object seemed alive in the flicker of the lanterns. Thus motes danced in the stale air, as though time itself had been disturbed. Everyone in that chamber